The silence you are experiencing right now surrounding your investment is not a normal silence. It is the eerie calm before a massive storm. If you hold the Iraqi dinar or the Vietnamese dong, the information I am about to share over the next 30 minutes could very well be the most critical briefing of your life. Why have the world's major banks suddenly taken their systems dark? Why have the screens at redemption centers abruptly gone offline? The answer lies hidden within an intense political drama unfolding right now on the streets of Baghdad. On one side, you have a strict Friday deadline imposed by the United States, and on the other, you have former Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki desperately clinging to power, backed by the full force of Iran. In today's special episode, we are not here to spread rumors, we are here to connect the dots. We are here to prove to you that this banking going dark protocol and the political chaos in Baghdad are not isolated events. They are two ends of the same fuse, and burning at the very end of that fuse is your long-awaited rate window between $3.50 and $6. Today, we are going deep. We will analyze why this specific rate is now inevitable and why the banks have locked their doors to the public to make final secret preparations inside. Fasten your seatbelts because the truth is not always easy to digest. Welcome back to the channel. To understand why the banks went dark, we must first understand what is happening right now in Baghdad. As many of you know, Iraq is facing a severe deadlock over choosing a new prime minister. At the center of this problem is former PM Nouri al-Maliki. He is desperate to return to power, but there is a massive obstacle standing in his way, the United States of America. According to high-level intel we have received, the White House has made it crystal clear that they do not want to see Maliki back in the prime minister's seat. Furthermore, Washington has essentially given the Iraqi parliament an ultimatum, a final deadline. By this Friday night, they must select a new acceptable candidate. Think about that for a moment. The United States is setting a deadline for who will be the prime minister of a sovereign nation. It sounds almost as if Iraq is a state within the United States, but that is the geopolitical reality we are dealing with. Why is America so insistent? The reason is simple: oil and stability. You may have heard President Donald Trump say the U.S. is tired of winning. Well, just recently, the massive American company KBR, Kellogg Brown & Root, was awarded a gigantic contract to manage Iraq's Majnoon oil field. This is a cornerstone of the U.S.-Iraq commercial partnership. America wants to protect these massive financial interests. They want a government in Iraq that is friendly to the U.S., not one beholden to Iran. Yet, Maliki is not bending. It is widely believed that he is receiving direct orders from Tehran, telling him to hold the line and not surrender power. This is the conflict, the immovable object of Maliki's ambition against the unstoppable force of an American deadline. This political collision is exactly why everything has ground to a halt, and until this political knot is untied, the financial side cannot move forward. This leads us directly to why the banks have chosen this specific moment to show their true colors. It is precisely because of this political standoff that over the last 48 to 72 hours, we have witnessed a strange phenomenon we are calling banks going dark. What does this mean? Does it mean the banks are closed? No. It means that all information regarding redemption or currency exchange has been scrubbed from the public banking systems. Our sources confirm this is not routine server maintenance. This is a calculated, strategic lockdown. Think about it strategically. If you were about to launch the greatest financial wealth transfer in human history, would you want the entire world watching your every move right at the finish line? Absolutely not. Going dark means that the new rates, the live QFS connections, and the trading screens are no longer visible on the regular banking networks. They have been migrated to highly secure, encrypted private servers that only designated high-level redemption staff can access. Why this extreme secrecy? For two critical reasons. First, security. Imagine the chaos at local bank branches the moment a live revaluation rate flashed on a public screen. They must avoid that pandemonium at all costs. Second, panic control. They cannot afford to have incorrect or premature information leaking into the markets before they are ready. We have intel suggesting that wealth managers at major financial institutions are currently under intense surveillance. Their personal phones are being tracked during work hours. They are signing non-disclosure agreements far stricter than anything the general public will ever see. Why? Because the temptation to leak the final rate right now is immense, and a leak at this stage could destabilize global markets. Therefore, remember this: the silence you see now is not emptiness. Behind this silence, behind this digital curtain that has just been dropped, the final stage is being set. Now, let us address the biggest question of all: the numbers. Why do we keep coming back to this specific window of $3.50 to $6? Many online personalities will tell you stories of $20, $50, or even higher rates. While sovereign government-to-government oil contracts might utilize such high rates for internal accounting, we, as Tier 4B internet investors, must keep our feet planted in reality. Iraq is not revaluing its currency just to make us rich. That is a fortunate byproduct. They are doing this to rebuild their nation and take their place on the global stage. Look at the Iraq of today. They are signing multi-billion-dollar contracts with global giants like Siemens, General Electric, and Total Energies for infrastructure and power. Their oil production is hitting record highs. Their gold reserves are growing exponentially. Is it logical for a country with such immense tangible wealth to have a currency valued at 1,310 dinars to $1? It's a joke. It's an artificially suppressed rate that no longer reflects reality. Conversely, if the rate were suddenly set to $20 overnight, the Central Bank of Iraq would bankrupt its reserves instantly trying to defend it. So, economists and banking insiders have calculated the sweet spot, the perfect window that allows Iraq to function globally. That window is mathematically calculated to be between $3.50 and $6. Why this range? Because at a $3.50 rate, Iraq can restore its purchasing power significantly, cover its massive budget deficits, and stand tall in international trade. A rate closer to $6, similar to what we saw with Kuwait's revaluation years ago, would reflect the true value of their untapped resources and gold backing. The banks know this math, the IMF knows this math, and the fact that they have gone dark right now strongly suggests they are locking a rate within this very realistic, sustainable window into their redemption systems as we speak. And to all the holders of the Vietnamese dong, the same logic applies to you. Vietnam is exploding as a global manufacturing hub, and their currency is undergoing the same final calibration process behind the scenes. So where does this leave you right now? The banks are dark, the political stage is set for a showdown, and the rate is being locked in. What is your final move? First, stop looking for the live rate on Google or standard Forex websites. I guarantee you won't find the real Tier 4B rate there until after the exchanges have begun and the rate goes public to Tier 5. The real numbers are hidden on those secure servers I mentioned earlier. Second, your focus must shift immediately from gathering intel to personal readiness. Do you know exactly where your currency is right now? Is it secure? Are your two forms of photo ID valid and unexpired? Do you have a recent utility bill ready to prove your address? When those 800 numbers and safe links are released, and believe me, they will be released suddenly without warning, you will not have time to scramble for paperwork. The appointment slots will fill up within hours. This brings me to perhaps the hardest part of this entire journey, the psychological shift. When the banks go dark, you need to go quiet. The temptation when you realize this is actually happening, when you see that the $3.50 to $6 rate is real, will be overwhelming. You will want to scream it from the rooftops. Do not. The silence of the banks is your blueprint. You need to begin practicing stealth wealth right now. Finally, and most critically, prepare for the NDA, the non-disclosure agreement. When you sit down at that redemption center, you will sign a legally binding contract to keep your mouth shut for probably 60 to 90 days. You cannot tell your neighbors, you cannot post on Facebook, you cannot run out and buy a Ferrari the next day. Look at your circle. Who can you genuinely trust? The sad reality is that number is smaller than you think. If you violate this agreement, the banks have the power to freeze your funds. The banks going dark right now is a precursor to this mandatory silence. They are practicing exactly what they are about to preach to you. Throughout this 30-minute deep dive, we have seen that the current silence is profoundly meaningful. The political deadlock in Baghdad, the American deadline, and this banking blackout are all flashing signals that we are standing on the very precipice of the greatest financial change in history. Friday is coming. The Maliki deadline is looming. The banks have their systems ready behind the curtain. The $3.50 to $6 window is no longer a dream. It is an approaching economic reality. Hold your position. You have waited years. You can wait these final few